As we draw nearer to the spookiest night of the year, perhaps I can be of some service in bringing you some more chilling stories from history, only this time in the form of 5 urban legends from around the world. What's always intrigued me about most urban legends is how fast word can spread about them, and how willing we are to accept them as a legitimate explanation for so-called supernatural occurrences. Sometimes we create monsters, phenomenons, and God knows what else to help us come to some explanation to things we don't understand yet. But is this always the case? I mean, while things like Bigfoot and the Loch Ness have never been proven, they haven't exactly been disproven either. Whether or not these figures I'm about to speak about are real or not is up to you, but I advise you to keep an open mind, if you dare. La Llorona, the Weeping Woman. No one appears to know where or how this legend originated from, though it's been a part of Hispanic culture for quite a number of years. La Llorona is described as being tall, thin, and in some versions blessed with a natural beauty with long flowing dark hair. She appears to be always wearing a white gown, and she lurks amongst rivers and creeks, wailing in the night as she searches for her lost children. In some legends, La Llorona preys on children who have stumbled into her lair and will seek to drag them into the depths of a watery grave. The most common interpretation of this legend is that La Llorona is the spirit of a doomed mother who drowned her own sons and now spends eternity wading through the waters, searching for them. As the tales go, she was once known as Maria and was born to a peasant family and would grow up to live a life of humble means. In one variation of the tale, her beauty caught the attention of many men who were above her in social class. She would enjoy the attention, often wearing different gowns and dresses in order to maximize the affections that she received. However, Maria also had 2 young sons, and this not only scared away some potential suitors, but also made it difficult for her to attend social events. One morning, both of Maria's sons were found drowned in the river. Some have said that they had died due to her neglect one night when she was out with a man on a date, whilst others suggest she had killed them herself out of frustration. In a more common legend, La Llorona, again known as Maria, was a caring woman who was compassionate, charming, and above all, a good soul. She married a wealthy man who appeared to love her deeply, fulfilling her every need and bestowing upon her the richest of gifts. But that would all change when Maria gave birth to 2 of the man's sons, and just like that, the man she'd known would become someone else. He began to have affairs with other women, took to drinking more, and often left her alone for prolonged periods of time to raise the children by herself. It would appear that he no longer cared for Maria, and would even go on to remarry a woman more suited to his own social standing. When he did return home to Maria, which was once in a blue moon, he did so only to visit his sons. It would cause Maria to grow bitter with resentment, though not just towards her former husband, but also towards her children. It would one day lead Maria to descend into a maddened rage, particularly after an event where her former husband had ignored her and spoke to his boys as if she wasn't even there. Seeking to scorn him, Maria threw her children into a nearby river. When she came to her senses and realized what she had done, she tried to run alongside the river in an attempt to save them, but it was too late. She was said to spend day and night inconsolable and would spend every minute of her day mourning the loss of her sons. She refused to eat or drink and fully neglected herself, doing nothing but strolling along the river in the same white gown, searching for her boys as if they would miraculously turn up. She cried endlessly as she roamed, and due to her refusal to eat, she became thin. So thin, she looked like a walking skeleton. Eventually, she died on the banks of the river. Some have said that her restless spirit began to appear and roam the banks of the Santa Fe River whenever night fell. Her weeping and wailing for her children was said to still echo through the air, and she was said to be seen as a ghostly apparition, drifting between trees along the shoreline and floating upon the waters. From that point on, she was no longer known as Maria, but as La Llorona, the Wailing Woman. While the legends vary, the spirit of La Llorona is said to act without mercy if you happen to stumble across her. In one version of this legend, she is said to kill indiscriminately, dragging men, women, and children who she encounters during her stroll. Others say that she only kills children, with the belief that in doing so, she will be trading their lives for that of the return of her own sons. Akamanto. Akamanto originates from Japan and is an urban legend about a place where you'd probably feel most vulnerable if you had to deal with a spirit. That place is, of course, the restroom. Akamanto is said to be a vicious spirit who haunts public toilets. He's described as being a handsome man, a trait the spirit uses to lull victims into a state of intrigue. However, in other versions, he's said to be masked. As the legends go, Akamanto usually haunts the last cubicle in a public bathroom. The victim is said to hear a mysterious deep voice that asks them if they would like red toilet paper or blue toilet paper. If the victim chooses red toilet paper, Akamanto is said to enter the cubicle with the victim and slash apart their flesh until their clothes are stained red. If the victim chooses blue toilet paper, Akamanto strangles the victim until their face turns blue. If you're anything like me, you'd probably try and outsmart Akamanto by asking for a different coloured toilet paper. This, however, will result in you being dragged down to the underworld. In fact, it's said that hands reach up from the toilet and will pull you down through your own feces and down the U-bend until you reach hell. Additionally, asking for yellow toilet paper will have Akamanto trying to drown you in your own piss. According to the legend, if you ever find yourself in a cubicle with Akamanto, the only answer to give is that you do not require toilet paper. This will see Akamanto leave you alone, though you might not have anything to wipe with. The Chupacabra. If you look at a creature like Bigfoot, it's easy to see that it is named after the prints that it leaves behind. So just like Bigfoot, Chupacabra is also named after what it leaves behind. Dead animals, though in the form of its preferred prey, goats. Chupacabra means goat sucker in Spanish, and has been blamed for multiple attacks on a wide variety of other animals. But what even is it? It's pretty hard to say given that we have no photographs of the creature, or even any credible footprints. Instead, we know about the Chupacabra through eyewitness accounts, and the string of dead animals that it leaves in its wake. Often, its victims are found completely drained of their blood, giving Chupacabra a Dracula-esque reputation. Descriptions of the Chupacabra vary, but many agree that it stands about 5 feet tall and has powerful legs that allow it to cover large distances very quickly. It has long claws, glowing red eyes, and a set of spikes down its back. There are many legends about the Chupacabra's origin, but the most popular is that it is the product of a US government genetics experiment in the rainforest of Puerto Rico that went wrong and escaped. Others believe it is to be an actual alien that had escaped a crashed spaceship. Others believe that the creature is actually the embodiment of either God's wrath or the physical manifestation of Satan himself. Sightings of the Chupacabras continued into the 2000s, with some even reporting carcasses of the creature in Puerto Rico, Mexico, Chile, and even Florida. But in every instance, the carcasses have turned out to be wild dogs, coyotes, raccoons, or any other common mammal. What sets them apart though is that these animals are suffering from a parasitic infection when they were living, causing them to lose their fur and take on a more gaunt, sometimes monstrous looking appearance. So the Chupacabras of recent times have been identified, and there appears to be nothing supernatural or extraterrestrial about them. But original eyewitnesses of the Chupacabras, back in the 90s, stick to their stories, explaining that the creature with dark eyes, long limbs, and spikes down its back was real, and that experts in the field are dismissing it simply because they don't understand it, or do not want to understand it. The Maryland Oatman. Said to be a legendary half-goat and half-human hybrid creature, The Goatman is simply described as having the head and hindquarters of a goat and the body of a human. Going by some legends, the Goatman of Maryland is an axe-wielding creature that was once a scientist working in Beltsville Agricultural Research Center. The tale suggests that this scientist was experimenting on goats until one day the experiment went terribly wrong, and in some weird twist of fate, he himself was mutated into the creature we now know as the Goatman, a creature who is now hungry for blood. He's said to be 7 feet tall and does not maintain the mentality of a human, but instead is now like a wild beast that preys on anyone foolish enough to wander into the woods. In some legends, he preys on young couples in parked cars, usually those who have driven out to secluded Lover's Lane type spots. There are also tales of him breaking into people's homes and feeding on domesticated pets. Others attest that the Goatman seeks out victims to rape them, regardless of their gender. In another legend, the Goatman was not once a scientist, but instead a farmer who went mad one day after a group of teenagers killed his flock. This caused him to become so enraged that through some divine mystic, he became the Goatman and vowed to take vengeance on any youngster he came across. The BlackEyed Children. Perhaps the strangest urban legend in this video, the BlackEyed Children are believed to be some of the most dangerous spirits in existence by those who have encountered them. Given that their notoriety has only recently gained some traction, it's hard to relate any concrete or legitimate evidence as to what accounts did and didn't happen. But I suppose that's the point of a legend in a sense. The BlackEyed Children are exactly that, a group of children with cold black eyes and unnerving mannerisms. Sightings of these creepy kids are usually in deserted areas like abandoned parking lots, lonely highways, or quiet woodlands. Some accounts have it that black-eyed children have knocked on doors of secluded houses and merely stand in the doorway until they grow bored and leave. The children have said to speak with unusual eloquence, and given their age, they seem to show some rather adult mannerisms in the way that they present themselves. They are said to insist on being let in to cars or homes, and are frequently spotted trying to hitchhike on lesser travelled roads. While sightings have been reported all over the world, there doesn't seem to be any reports of what happens if an adult agrees to let one of the children in. And maybe that's a good thing. What do they want, I wonder? And what is it they do to the adults once they're invited in? One thing is for sure, if you happen to spot a child in need in the middle of nowhere, be sure to check their eyes before you think about trying to help them. And that's 5 urban legends for you to enjoy, or not enjoy, for the rest of your life. As always guys, please leave a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more content just like this. We're probably going to be hitting one last Halloween video on the 31st, and then we're setting sail to meet some more pirates. Until the next time guys.